All right, welcome back. So I've got a theory that we need to test. Basically, I tried to record a video earlier, and I fished here at 10:44. You know, now that we have garlic dough, I was anxious to see how the bream fishing would be, and so it was so dead that it actually surprised me. I mean, I caught quite a few non-marker bream sort of right before nighttime, so like right now while we're throwing it in now. But I mean, it was really dead, and so what it left me wondering was if leaders were making that much of a difference. And so the problem is, as you know, if you're low level or if you've been following the video series closely, the problem is there just aren't fluorocarbon leaders available for low level players. The stock is nothing. And so actually Magnum had a good suggestion. He was basically saying, hey, is it worth getting a fisherman tool which allows you to cut your own leaders, basically? And that may be worth it, although it's 400 silver, basically, plus the cost of... It's actually going to be more than that because you got to buy the fluorocarbon line, you know, the different things that you need to actually make a leader, the accessories and all that. So it'd be a pretty big expense, but if fluorocarbon leaders are making that big of a deal, then perhaps it's worth it. So, but it got me thinking, the other thing that you can do when you can't get fluorocarbon leaders is you can just try fluorocarbon line directly. And so that's what I want to test here. I didn't have enough silver to get more than one line, but we purchased one 7.7 fluorocarbon line. Now, theoretically, this should be the same as having like a 7.5 or 7.7 fluorocarbon leader on, because it's fluorocarbon line. It's just as invisible as the leader would be. And so, at least in theory, this should be very similar to fishing with a fluorocarbon leader. Now, the downside is all I can afford is the small spool. So we don't have that much line on the reel. We probably have 100 meters on here because that's the maximum size. We could get up to 143, but we just couldn't afford the big spool of it, right? So, so what we really want to pay attention to, I've got garlic dough on both lines, for number 1 and number 2. This one's got sweet dough, which means we're going for white bream, but we're also likely to catch at least one-eyed that will probably drive me crazy and be too strong for this little 3.1 line. So what we're really watching is there a difference, especially once we get into bream time? Is there a difference between line 1 of our fishing rig 1 and rig 2? Rig 1 has the fluorocarbon leader on it. No, sorry. The fluorocarbon line on it. Rig 2 has monoline on it. Now, the other difference is rig 2 is a smaller line. It's 4.8. But for bream fishing, that really shouldn't make a difference. That should neither be an advantage nor a disadvantage to have smaller line. Should still catch the same bream. And they're both using garlic dough, and they're both using our fake ground bait for bream fishing. Fake bream ground bait. Which I can show you what that recipe is if you haven't seen it before. I basically just use ground crackers, maggots, millet porridge, and sunflower oil. And the reason we use those is the two additives, maggots and millet porridge, are what's in real bream mix. So we're just trying to get as close as we can. Sometimes I'll use caramel instead of sunflower. And So that is the working theory. The other working theory that we're not necessarily testing here right now is, I'm just wondering, without the fluorocarbon, if pearl barley is doing better than garlic dough. If garlic dough requires that fluorocarbon to really push it over the edge, it's entirely possible that the night that I spent here fishing bream and caught practically nothing, I mean literally practically nothing, it was all sub markers. It could just be random. It could be the spot is drying up. It could be a lot of things, but I suspect that the fluorocarbon is making a difference for people. I think Skillful's the one that just recently caught a trophy bream in this spot. And the only difference would have been, well, there's several differences actually. Fluorocarbon and actual bream ground bait and loop rig. So there's 3 differences. What I'm betting on is that the fluorocarbon is the biggest contributor, but we'll see. Yeah, and our hope here is on this third line that we'll at least get a couple of fat white bream. That's sort of ideal. All right, the second line sounds like it's got a pretty strong fish on. The last one we called on line 1 was a marker. We've now gotten, so far these two have been pretty even. This is the first like nice bream we've had, and it's on line 2 without the fluorocarbon. Of course, it's hard to draw too many. Now that one's got a good one on there. It's hard to draw too many conclusions in one session, but if you start doing this a couple nights, 3 nights in a row, I think you'll start seeing trends, and that'll hopefully tell you something. I don't know if I should be reeling this aggressively or if I should let it get tired a little bit, but let's just get it in. This is a nice bream though. And remember, this is 4.8 line. I mean, this is pretty weak line to be bream fishing with. So if we were to hook into a trophy on this one, it's going to be the fight of our life to try to maintain a chance with it. So this should be a decent one too. It sounded like it was pulling line at first. Yeah. All right, so let's take it easy a little bit, see what we've got here. It's pulling a good bit. Let's go ahead and get it out of the water. It's acting more like an eyed than a bream. It's jerking all over the place. Okay, that's a nice bream. Best bream yet. And again, that was on the fluorocarbon line. Not that we want to overdraw conclusions from one fish, but I was using worms here on the third line earlier to try to avoid the eyed, because honestly the eyed just wrecked this rig, but that's a nice white. That's what we want. You know, if we just get 2 or 3 fat white bream in a session on this little line, then that's a success. And really, there's another big bite on our fluorocarbon. And really what we want to do, and I've been thinking about this, it is, I think I mentioned this in the last video that we were here at Berg, it is pretty ridiculous to have this third feeder still. And I know we've been, you know, emphasizing leveling up bait harvesting, a little bit of cooking. We've done a little bit of ground bait, and we just upgraded to a pretty decent setup here. I feel like this Palmer Adriatica is a pretty nice setup for Old Berg. But to still have this Sorrento is just about inexcusable here at level 13. So I think, you know, we're at 55 silver. I think that You know, the two options are either aggressively save to replace that with another nicer rig, or if we want to keep working on bait harvesting, ground bait, and kind of spread our money out, it may be worth just spending the, what is it, 149, 150 silver and getting another setup like this. You know, this at least gives us a chance against Bream, against Tench even. I mean, there's a lot of things here at Oldberg this gets us. It doesn't give us carp. It doesn't get us out of trouble when we get like a big-eyed or necessarily even a trophy Bream or something, but it at least gets us in the conversation with some of that fishing and probably helps tremendously. So I don't know which of those two paths we take, but we've got to get on as fast a track as possible to replace this third line. It is no bueno for Oldberg. And if we're going to save to get another really nice rig, then we probably need to do some of that saving back at Mosquito and Winding, which, I mean, we'll probably do anyway, but just get yourself in trouble on a line like that at Oldberg. You know, so the Bream are just biting better this night so far, even without the fluorocarbon. I mean, it's like we just had a really unlucky night. Maybe it was the temp was a little off or something, but it's like they weren't there at all once it hit nighttime. And now they seem to be so far. It's another pretty decent one. I knew something didn't look right, but I thought I just was seeing it wrong. Hey, love. Ooh, thank you. That was so close to a marker, but just not quite there. I think we had undercast it though on that line last time we threw it in. This is a baby. Occasionally white bream will get on garlic dough, but it's probably just a small marker, a small regular bream. That's what was happening last time I was here. It's just like fish after fish. Man, these almost markers on this second line. Yeah, it's like the small ones are out right now, isn't it? Don't tell me this is stuck. I am so tired of snags. It's just been happening a lot lately. I really hope that I just hope that that's a priority right now. Ever since the Amber update came out and changing like how the bottoms were and all that, like there's just ghost snag places everywhere now. This is the only chance of getting that snag off is a fish get on. Somehow that releases it sometimes. What do you think? 4 point whatever line. Might be like a 2.5 kilo one. I don't know. That other line has gotten unstuck now. Two kilo. So that was our second pretty nice white bream. So on 2 lines instead of 3, 4 over 1 kilo, 7 total markers. It's okay. It's not the best it's been, but it's okay for now. About 100 silver and we can replace that third line, third rig. Glad we recast that first line. It's already getting a bite, it looks like. Another 3 kilo bream. I mean, it certainly feels, it seems as though that fluorocarbon line is making a difference. Could be this third line just not having, you know, being able to target the bream on it, but it just doesn't quite feel like this spot has the normal activity level to me. But it's still good. I mean, it's just not quite as good as it can be. I wish this would be a white Bream, but it's not. It's a Crucian. Maybe another Crucian. There you go. won't stay here long. I'm just trying to figure out if you could make some daytime fishing work here. Don't think. Oh, wow. What is this just sitting on the line? Okay. So we've got 3 different baits. That line is spazzing out. Should be a roach, but you never know. Huh. Seems like everything is going to catch these undersized bream here in this spot. During the day, perhaps. Snags are getting bad. Alright, so 40 fish, some decent bream. Pretty short session, but I think we probably did alright. Maybe we can get a lucky cafe order. I guess overall I'm pleased with how the fluorocarbon line did. It's a nice option considering leaders aren't really an option. 83 silver. It's okay. That's interesting. So some really nice orders. Oh, that eyed order is totally doable in that spot. There's a lot of time left on both of those. And there's a trophy bream order. Oh man, all the orders are just great for the spot we're fishing in. Actually. Wow. Okay. I may go for that. We'll see. Okay, let's see. What are we at? 128. How much is it here? Is it worth traveling to pick up that kit if that's what we're going to do? Or is it better just to do it here? It's only 6 more silver, so it's better to do it here. So I think we get a second one of these. It's so cheap, and then we start saving. I just don't like the Pro. I'm just undecided on the Sputnik Element Pro. It's the 4000 version, so you're only getting 6.5 max drag, and you're getting the 4000 size. So I feel like this reel is somewhere in no man's land, basically. It's not terrible. It would work for Bream, but it's a lot of silver for something that doesn't have as much flexibility as like the Adriatica or the Fishing Pride, or the Proton or the Proton Pro. What was somebody telling us about? Where does it fall? Is it here? Yeah. It's just out of stock. I wonder if it's out of stock everywhere. It's a pretty interesting choice, though. It's only 2-star. Oh, that's the... Wait, is that the one we're talking about? No. Or was it the Supercast? What were we looking at? I think it was one of the Express Fishing, right? I don't know. Okay, anyway, we made some progress, though. We got some fluorocarbon line. We'll see what next episode brings. Thanks for watching.